Hello, dear. It's Margareth. Today I want to show you something simple I started doing again to save a little money. I started making my own yogurt at home. It is actually quite simple, and it tastes much better too. When you live alone on a pension, you notice every price increase, so I have started making my own yogurt at home.
So I went back to the old way, using just milk and a little plain yogurt as starter. It is not fancy, and it does not need a machine. Just a pot, a clean jar, and a bit of patience. Before we begin, I'd love for you to leave a like if you enjoy quiet, practical videos like this. And please subscribe to The Quiet Pensioner. I noticed so many of you watch these videos but haven't subscribed yet, and your support truly helps this little channel grow. Now, come into the kitchen with me, and I'll show you exactly how I make it. I still remember the first time I looked at the price of yogurt and thought, that cannot be right.
It was a small container. Nothing fancy. Just plain yogurt. But the price had gone up again. I stood there in the dairy aisle for a minute, holding it in my hand, thinking about my pension, my grocery list, and how many little things had become expensive without me noticing. When you live alone on a pension, you learn to count the small things. $1 here, $2 there, a few dollars every week. By the end of the month, those little things are not little anymore. That was when I started making my own yogurt again. I had made it years ago, when life was simpler and I had more energy. But I had forgotten how easy it really was. You do not need a machine. You do not need a special kit. You do not need a cupboard full of ingredients. You only need two things: milk and a little plain yogurt with live active cultures. That is all. The first time I made it again, I used 1 quart of milk and 2 tablespoons of plain yogurt. The yogurt must say live active cultures on the label. That part matters because those good bacteria are what turn the milk into yogurt. Yogurt is simply fermented milk. The bacteria in the starter yogurt feed on the natural sugar in milk, called lactose. As they work, they produce lactic acid. That acid gently changes the milk proteins and makes the milk thicken. That is not a trick. That is real food science. It is the same basic process people have used for thousands of years. Here is how I make it. I pour 1 quart of milk into a heavy pot. Whole milk makes the creamiest yogurt, but 2% milk works too. I do not usually use skim milk because it makes a thinner yogurt. Then I heat the milk slowly on the stove. I stir it now and then so it does not scorch on the bottom. I heat it until it is steaming and tiny bubbles appear around the edge of the pot. If you use a thermometer, you want it around 180 degrees Fahrenheit. This heating step is important. It helps give the yogurt a smoother, thicker texture. Then I take the pot off the heat and let the milk cool. This is the step you cannot rush. The milk must cool to warm, not hot. Around 110 degrees Fahrenheit is right. If it is too hot, it can kill the live cultures. If it is too cool, the yogurt may not set properly. I test it the old-fashioned way. I put a few drops on the inside of my wrist. It should feel warm and gentle, like a baby's bathwater. Not hot, not cold, just warm. When the milk is ready,
I put 2 tablespoons of plain yogurt into a small bowl. I add a little of the warm milk and stir it until smooth. Then I pour that mixture back into the pot and stir gently. After that, I pour the milk into a clean glass jar. Cleanliness matters. The jar should be washed well with hot soapy water and rinsed properly. You want the yogurt cultures to grow, not other unwanted bacteria. Then comes the easiest part: waiting.
The jar needs to stay warm for about 6 to 8 hours. Not hot, just warm. Some people use an oven with only the oven light on. Some wrap the jar in towels and place it in a warm spot. Some use a cooler with a warm water bottle beside it. I usually put mine in the oven with the light on. I do not turn the oven on. The light gives just enough warmth. After about 6 hours, I check it. I gently tilt the jar. If it moves like soft pudding, it has set. If it is still runny, I give it another hour or 2. The longer it sits, the tangier it gets. 6 hours gives a milder yogurt. 8 hours gives a stronger taste. If you leave it much longer, it can become very tart. When it is ready, I put it straight into the refrigerator. The cold slows the fermentation and helps the yogurt firm up more. By the next morning, I have fresh, homemade yogurt. Sometimes I eat it plain. Sometimes I add a spoon of honey. Sometimes I add fruit, oats, or a little cinnamon. I do not add sugar while making it. I add what I want when I serve it. And before I eat too much, I always do one important thing.
I save 2 tablespoons in a small, clean jar. That becomes the starter for my next batch. That is the beautiful part. You buy plain yogurt once, and after that, you can keep using a little from each batch to make the next one. Homemade yogurt usually keeps in the fridge for about 1 to 2 weeks. Sometimes a little liquid appears on top. That liquid is whey. It is normal. You can stir it back in or pour it off if you like thicker yogurt. If I want Greek-style yogurt, I strain it through cheesecloth or a clean cloth for a few hours. The liquid drains out and the yogurt becomes thicker. If I strain it longer, it becomes almost like a soft spread. Now, I will not pretend this saves thousands of dollars. It does not. But it does save money. A container of yogurt at the store can be expensive, especially if you buy it often. A quart of homemade yogurt mostly costs the price of the milk. For someone like me, living alone on a pension, that matters. But it is not only about money. It is about feeling less helpless at the grocery store. It is about remembering that not everything has to come in a plastic tub with a bright label. It is about knowing I can still make something useful with my own hands. At my age, I have learned that frugal living is not about being cheap. It is about paying attention. It is about using what you have wisely. It is about small habits that give you a little breathing room.
So, if yogurt has become one more thing that feels too expensive, try making it once. 1 quart of milk, 2 tablespoons of plain yogurt. Heat it, cool it, stir in the starter, keep it warm, refrigerate it, and save 2 tablespoons for next time. That is all there is to it. A simple jar of yogurt, a small saving, a quiet little victory in the kitchen. And there it is, dear. Homemade yogurt.
from just milk and 2 tablespoons of plain yogurt.
It may seem like a small thing, but small savings matter when you live on a pension. A jar like this gives me breakfast for several days, and it reminds me that I can still do useful things for myself. Before you eat it all, remember to save 2 tablespoons for your next batch. That little bit becomes the beginning of the next jar. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Leave a comment and tell me if you have ever made yogurt at home, or if your mother or grandmother had her own way of doing it. I really do love reading your stories. And please subscribe to The Quiet Pensioner. So many people watch without subscribing, and subscribing helps me keep sharing these simple, honest ways to live a little better on a pension. Thank you for spending this quiet moment in the kitchen with me. Until next time, take care of yourself. Spend wisely, and remember that simple things can still be enough.